Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious, ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Folks, welcome to another edition of MIP as we continue our coverage of the historic House Judiciary Committee vote on H.R. 40, the Reparations Bill. And what we're going to hear today, there was a panel discussion on last week, and we've been sharing some of that with you. And this is the post-vote discussion after the House Judiciary Committee voted reparations out of committee. Now, the next stop will be the floor of the House of Representatives. Once again, your panelists are Kamm Howard, National Co-Chair of NCOBRA, Kennis Henry, Chairperson of the NCOBRA Legislative Committee, the Reverend Dr. JoAnn Watson, Senior Pastor of Westside Unity Church, Dr. Raymond Winbush, Director of the Institute for Urban Research at Morgan State University, Nkechi Taifa, Founder and Principal CEO of the Taifa Group, Dr. Ron Daniels, President of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, and Dr. Greg Carr, Professor of Africana Studies at Howard University. What will happen now that the House Judiciary Committee has voted in favor of reparations? Enjoy our panel.
For those of you watching, trying to figure out what's happening, the Democrats do intend, the news is broken, do intend to introduce a bill that would expand the Supreme Court. Joe Biden announced a commission on last Friday. The Republicans have no other retort to H.R. 40. So they're using this time to obsess over a bill that would expand the Supreme Court. There's just no other argument. And so this is what is ongoing. I welcome the panelists who want to chime in while they're wasting time on this. But soon we will get a vote out of committee for H.R. 40. So we are all, and it's a blessing for us all to be here together because we are witnessing history together. There's still a large number of you in the webinar. Stick around. Let's all remember, we'll have something to remember for the rest of our lives. How we watched this all together, the memory of John Conyers, Reparations Ray, how we watched it with Mama JoAnn Watson and Kamm Howard and Kennis Henry and Ray Winbush and Ron Daniels and others. This is history. Mama JoAnn, we should mention that if this goes another hour, at least, and I'm not suggesting it will, folks, don't get excited, but if it were to go into midnight, then reparations will be voted out of the House Judiciary Committee. That history will be made on Jackie Robinson Day. At midnight, it will be Jackie Robinson Day. Mama JoAnn.
I love it. I love it. History is big.
That aside, I just wanted to
and we are
back to the
witnesses.
point, this urgent point, this
feel
thing that we're
blessed
all so
to be
deeply
here
concerned
on
about.
behalf of
We might just radically transform
strong
the
Detroiters
institutions that is
like
holding us
Congressman
together
John Conyers,
together
Reparations Ray Jenkins,
by this
for many
foundation.
years, and my Dr. Mario Badelli,
And just close with two more excerpts.
Reverend
Senate
Gaidio
Judiciary
Badelli,
Committee's
Chokwe
adverse
Lumumba,
report to the New Deal legislation's
Mother
Judicial
Irma
Transformation
Henderson.
Plan,
There were
1937.
Mother Rosa
Chapter
Parks.
now,
Mother Rosa
after
Parks
150
attended an
years,
NCOBRA
boils the
convention.
constitutional idea
That's
of
right
the
next to
fundamental
Queen
British
Mother Moore
duty-bound to
in
protect the
downtown
constitutional
Detroit.
rights of the
So
humblest,
reparations
even against the
is a
governments,
bread and butter issue
create
for
the vicious
America
precedent
and certainly
which
for our
must
people.
necessarily undermine our system.
It's an honor to be
Only
here.
argument for the
Amen. We are 1 hour away from
is that Congress
um, making history and hopefully less than an hour away of voting out of committee. It's Jackie Robinson Day and Midnight. Dr. Greg Carr.
Yes, sir, Brother Matsamila. And maybe check my math, Barbara. But in addition to Jack Roselle Robinson, it's Compensated Emancipation Day on the 15th, isn't it? DC Compensated Emancipation, I think. I'm gonna double check. I know you.
The 16th is
the 16th. Okay, that's why I was like, no, maybe a day off. But you know, it's interesting. There isn't a it may not be obvious, but the last line of defense for the white nationalists in this country and their representatives in the federal legislature will likely be the courts. And so it may not appear on the surface that this is related, but let's be very clear. If and when HR 40 passes the House and gets through the Senate and is signed into law, whenever that is, there are going to be immediate court challenges to any plan. And there'll be 14th Amendment challenges, very likely, along the idea that there can be no constitutionally mandated or constitutionally supported racial remedies. And that's going to be before the federal bench. That's why court packing is so important. They're worried, of course, because that's not something that will be an issue this year, next year, 5 years from now. But ultimately, that's why those seats on the court were so important. And that's why expanding the Supreme Court will be important, because this is going to find its way through federal legislation, through the courts. The only other thing I would say at this juncture is that the other strategy they will have will be a federalism strategy. So that if and when remedies are decided upon and the federal government supervises it, everybody out there who is locked in the southern states, which is where so many of our people are,
right.
Think about the fact that Medicaid has not been expanded under the Affordable Care Act. What these states will do, these Georgia state, these state legislatures controlled by one party, the GOP in the South, if they have the legislature and the executive branch, they will simply reject things like tuition, any expansion using federal dollars to get to us. And so these are things that, there'll be good problems to have ultimately, because that will mean we're past this to the remedy phase. But just know that this might seem like it's not connected, but the courts are the last line of defense for the white nationalists in this country, because they think that may be their last chance to rally this as a white nation.
Well, as a matter of fact, Dr. Carr, I had a guest on my show a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to remember who it is. If I remember to get the article, I share with everyone. They themselves see it's projection, Dr. Daniels. They have packed the courts. All right, Trump packed the courts. And so what that means is already they have packed the courts so much that they don't even need the legislature anymore. The Republicans have packed the courts in such a way, and mind you, the Biden administration isn't just talking about Supreme Court. They're talking about Court of Appeals, district courts, because at that level, district court judges and appeals court judges are complaining that their caseloads are too big. And so they need expansion and more judges. But they've packed the court in such a way that they don't even need the legislature anymore. Let me check back in and hear what's going on.
He's right, but
This is
we will give you the courtesy of a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this is a vote
Mr. Nadler.
on the amendment.
No.
Mr. Nadler votes no. Ms. Lofgren.
This is the
No.
amendment
Oh,
on
the
court
amendment to the
packing.
amendment. Ms. Jackson
That would
Lee.
be, this is the amendment on court
Ms.
packing.
Jackson Lee votes no.
I believe, Kamm.
Mr. Cohen.
Right.
Mr. Cohen votes no. Mr. Johnson of Georgia.
More MIP after this message. So again, what we're witnessing is, you're right,
Johnson of
Dr.
Georgia
Carr,
votes no.
this is their thing.
Mr. Deutsch
They
votes
pack
no.
these courts, the courts are
Ms.
sacred
Bass.
to them. Frankly, I thought Jamie Raskin
Ms. Bass votes no.
made an argument
Mr. Jeffries.
for the Supreme Court itself as an institution to pay
Mr.
reparations
Cicilline.
on its own
Mr.
for all it
Cicilline
did
votes no.
as
Swalwell.
an institution.
Mr. Swalwell votes no. Mr. Liu.
It's all of that's correct,
Mr.
but
Raskin.
everything's about timing. And
Mr. Raskin
absolutely,
votes no. Ms. Jayapal.
court needs to be expanded.
Ms. Jayapal votes
They
no.
packed the
Ms.
court,
Demings.
but in this moment, when there's
Ms.
such a
Demings
thin
votes no.
margin,
Mr.
the
Correa.
Republicans have not had an
Mr.
issue
Correa
to
votes
get
no.
traction on.
Ms. Scanlon.
And I'd be very concerned
Ms. Scanlon votes
about
no.
the
Ms.
tactical
Garcia.
question, not the strategic question, but tactically
Garcia votes
introducing
no.
at this
Mr.
point,
Nagu.
going into the midterms, may be the only issue. I'd be interested in
Mr.
seeing what the
Neguse
polling
votes
is.
no.
And I would
Ms. McBath.
predict the polling on this is not going to be favorable in terms of because it's going to be presented as packing the court. And Roosevelt did he got drubbed by his own party on this question. So I think it's the right issue. Strategically, we need to move it forward because even some of the local issues are going to be challenged on the basis of the kind of jurisprudence, reactionary jurisprudence under this court. But raising at this time, I would just question tactically whether that's the best move to make.
Well, but it might be good for our issue, because if Republicans would prefer to put the spotlight on the court issue and not on reparations, then maybe we squeeze through. You know, you're right, Dr. Daniels, in terms of every other bit of strategery. But it's if they want to use this to distract from the issue of reparations, and then maybe we can, by the time it gets to the Senate, it's the same thing. You know, we just slip through while they debate the court.
Yeah, but I'm interested in the next. It is in our best interest over the next period. Not only to, that's why when you and I had the discussion about DC statehood,
right? We
have this thin margin. DC statehood would give us 2 more senators. We're in a we got Prime Minister Joe Manchin, you know, trying to become the super ego and the obstructionist complicity, being in complicity with the obstructionists. So I'm just saying, my cautionary note is that we should win this one. We're gonna win this one. At the end of the day, it may have to be by way of you know, executive order, but it's also in our long-term interest not to get reversed in the midterms that are right around the corner. And they're fighting for the midterms right now. And as right now, they have no issue. Nothing that they've thrown up against the wall is sticking. And I worry that this might stick and therefore adversely affect the thin margin in the House of Representatives and the thin margin in the Senate of the United States. So just my
yeah, no, that's valid. It's late, folks. It's 11 Eastern. Ann Smith is cursing in the chat. More distractions, she write. Voting no to pack court. Screwed up white guys in the middle of passing reparations. They are just effing rude, smart asses. Thank you, Ann, for your late night profanity.
Chairman, there are 17 ayes and 24 nays.
On this. The amendment, of course, did not pass. Let's see where we are.
Hearing none. The question occurs on the amendment, so they should go to the vote. This will be followed immediately by a vote on final passage of the bill. All those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment, the nature of a substitute, is agreed to. A reporting quorum. What purpose does Ms. Jackson Lee seek recognition?
I'd like to offer 2 documents into the record. I'd like to offer into the record a letter from the U.S. Conference of Mayors dated April 13th, 2021. And I'd like to acknowledge the Why We Can't Wait letter that had more than 300 co-sponsors, asked unanimous consent.
Without objection.
I'd like to put into the record page 1 of the Constitution and pages, Amendment 13, 14, and 15, ask unanimous consent to place those statements in the Constitution in the record.
Without objection. Reporting quorum being present, the question is on the motion to report the bill H.R. 40 as amended favorably to the House.
Mr. Chairman.
For what purposes, Mrs. Swallow seek recognition?
Thank you. I would also seek unanimous consent to offer into the record a Monday, April 12, 2021 CNN article. A black family's beach property in California was taken during the Jim Crow era. The county has now given it back and it's worth millions.
Without objection. Chairman. For what purposes, Mr. Jeffrey seek recognition?
Ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a few articles, 1 on the Freedmen's Bank, 1 on what happened 99 years ago in the Tulsa Race Massacre, 1 on the next New Deal must be for Black Americans, 2, 1 on how the GI Bill's promise was denied to 1 million Black World War II veterans, and 1 on the story behind 40 Acres and a Mule.
Without objection. A reporting quorum being present, the question is on the motion to report the bill H.R. 40 as amended favorably to the House. Those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered reported favorably.
That's a recorded vote.
Recorded vote has been requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Nadler.
Aye.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren.
Yes.
Ms. Lofgren votes yes. Ms. Jackson Lee.
Aye.
Ms. Jackson Lee votes aye. Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen votes aye. Mr. Johnson of Georgia.
Yay.
Mr. Johnson of Georgia votes yea. Mr. Deutsch.
Aye.
Mr. Deutsch votes aye. Ms. Bass.
Aye.
Ms. Bass votes aye. Mr. Jeffries. Mr. Jeffries votes aye. Mr. Cicilline. Mr. Cicilline votes aye. Mr. Swalwell.
Aye.
Mr. Swalwell votes aye. Mr. Liu.
Aye.
Mr. Liu votes aye. Mr. Raskin.
Aye.
Mr. Raskin votes aye. Ms. Jayapal.
Aye.
Ms. Jayapal votes aye. Ms. Demings.
Aye.
Ms. Demings votes aye. Mr. Correa. Mr. Correa votes aye. Ms. Scanlon.
Aye.
Ms. Scanlon votes aye. Ms. Garcia.
Aye.
Ms. Garcia votes aye. Mr. Neguse.
Aye.
Mr. Neguse votes aye. Ms. McBath.
Aye.
Ms. McBath votes aye. Mr. Stanton.
Aye.
Mr. Stanton votes aye. Ms. Dean.
Aye.
Ms. Dean votes aye. Ms. Escobar.
Aye.
Ms. Escobar votes aye. Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Mr. Jones votes aye. Ms. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Ross votes aye. Ms. Bush.
Ms. Bush votes aye.
Ms. Bush votes aye. Mr. Jordan.
No.
Mr. Jordan votes no. Mr. Shabbat. Mr. Shabbat votes no. Mr. Gomer. Mr. Isa. Mr. Isa. Mr. Isa votes no. Mr. Buck. Mr. Buck votes no. Mr. Gates.
No.
Mr. Gates votes no. Mr. Johnson of Louisiana. Mr. Johnson of Louisiana votes no. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes no. Mr. McClintock.
No.
Mr. McClintock votes no. Mr. Stubbe.
No.
Mr. Stubbe votes no. Mr. Tiffany. Mr. Massey. Mr. Massey votes no. Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy votes no. Mr. Bishop.
No.
Mr. Bishop votes no. Ms. Fishbach.
No.
Ms. Fishbach votes no. Ms. Sparts.
No.
Ms. Sparts votes no. Mr. Fitzgerald. Mr. Fitzgerald votes no. Mr. Bentz. Mr. Bentz votes no. Mr. Owens. Mr. Owens votes no.
Has everyone voted who wishes to vote? The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 25 ayes and 17 noes.
The bill, the bill is approved. Members will have 2 days to submit views. Without objection, the bill will be reported as a single amendment, nature of a substitute incorporating all adopted amendments, and the staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes. Pursuant to notice, I now call up the final report on investigation of competition in digital markets for consideration.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You have just witnessed history being made. It has been voted out of the House Judiciary Committee. We've all been here to witness it and to witness it together. Let's get some reactions. Dr. Winbush, how you feeling? How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling real good. Feeling real good. I mean, this has been a long struggle, but the struggle continues. So we got to keep our eyes on the prize. Keep our eyes on the prize.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dreesen, Reparations, Beyonce.
Feeling great, y'all. Feeling great and just honored to be in the company, experiencing the moment with y'all. You know, I've been in the trenches with Kennis, with all y'all, trying to get this going in these last 2 sessions. So I'm just really honored, really honored.
All right. Sister Jam, we haven't heard from you in a few. And where did Kamm go?
Wow, I'm just happy to see. I'm just happy to see this come through. I'm a latecomer, newcomer to the reparations movement, but like over the last year, just to see so much of the misinformation trying to derail the work that you all have done, and to see that everyone could come together and collectively overpower that and keep moving it forward. This is just a powerful moment and night.
Cam Howard.
So yeah, I have so many emotions, man. I came in this movement 16 years ago, newbie, like some of the people here, and just laid my roots into it and desired to, push this as far as I thought it can go. And just witnessing all the new people who have came in to take it to this particular level, it's truly been a collective, not just from those in the past, but those who have came into the movement recently. It's been a collective push. We could not have done it. We could not have gotten to this point without all those here on this panel, some that we represent, some that are not here. I'm just really extremely happy. I'm always the one who say, after battle victory, it was just a battle victory. War is not over. I'm ready. I'm already looking at the next battle. So, but surely, we won tonight in order to fight more to actually get to the goal of repair. So I'm tremendously happy.
Amen. Thank you, brother. And thank you all for all your hard work. More MIP after this message. Reparations, Rihanna, Kennis. Someone's asking what happens next. People already want to know what's going to happen next. What happens now?
So much work has to be done. From now on out, we just have to make sure we shore up our votes. Like Kamm said, would be really, really great if we could go to the floor with 218 shored up co-sponsors. We still have about 44 holdouts. So from now on out, the job is to try and flip as many of them as possible. And I do need a little bit of help from this group. Since I heard that some of the folks across the aisle might be willing to sit on the commission, but nobody asked them. I have some names I'm going to call tomorrow and ask them to come on as co-sponsors. I may have missed someone. So if you all can help me out just a little bit, I have Congressman Issa, I have Congressman McClintock, I have Congressman Jordan, and I have Congressman Chabot, C-H-A-B-O-T. Is there anyone that I missed from the group that was very vocal about being omitted and that nobody asked them to perhaps sit on the commission? Because I want to hit every one of them tomorrow.
All right. So you want to know if people have any, can help you reach out to people. For those,
I just need right now any names I missed who were across the aisle that
okay. Did anybody catch any other names?
I gave you Issa, Jordan, McClintock, and Chabot.
With any other names that anyone picked up?
No, but I would like to just address what's next. And ask Dreesen also to come in. What's next is, I'm sorry, Kennis.
No, go.
What's next is, this bill goes to the floor for a vote. And again, we need the 218 votes. We need to shore up our messaging, why we can't wait. That's what got us to this point. It was, demonstrating all the disparities. And Dreesen did a wonderful job of writing that letter for us and getting the 300 plus co-sponsors, 300 plus organizations to sign on to that letter that was entered into the record tonight. We'll be pushing Senator Booker, prepping him because this legislation will come to the Senate. Hopefully we can work out the briefing now in between the vote in the House. And right after the House vote, if it's successful, we'll be pushing for a Senate hearing. The Judiciary Chair of the Senate, Dick Durbin here in Illinois, is an original co-sponsor and signed on early on this legislation in 2019 when it was first introduced. Senator Schumer who's the leader of the Democratic Party, has gone on record 3 weeks ago being very enthusiastic about his possibilities in the House, in the Senate. So we're gonna have to work, we have to change our messaging for the Senate, and we haven't developed that yet. But, this panel, we got a great panel who can strategize around messaging, and we'll get something out that we can push the Senate. And one last thing with the Senate, we also can move from a position of strength with them understanding what we were able to do in Georgia and utilize that as a goal to get some of these senators, especially red senators, to sign on. I think we have a better chance of getting some Senate bipartisanship in the House, but that remains to be seen. But we have a lot of work to do going forward, and so and then we may just have to just shift toward a presidential executive order. But all of that, we have to come together and continue to strategize around and bring it to the people, and
let me
try to get your help. Go ahead, Dr. Daniels, please do.
Chime in just a little bit. I think the question of the Black vote is key. And just from an emotional standpoint, I was sitting here, it was like we were in a pre-emancipation day watch service. You know what I mean? If you were sort of flashing back, as we were watching and waiting on this moment. And that's interesting because the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, but we also have to look at what happened. The betrayal, the sellout that all took place as a consequence of that. I think we have certain advantages. We have to remember that Nancy Pelosi, is the Speaker of the House, is fully on board, as is Steny Hoyer. He's the whip. The word that we get is that Clyburn will do his job, and he will line the votes up. That's his job, to get that done. So we certainly hope that will happen. We know that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is looking for a historical moment in order to get the floor vote. That could be on the eve of Juneteenth or in proximity to Juneteenth, or she may want to do it on Frederick Douglass weekend around the 4th of July to make that kind of contrast. So that's very much, going to be in motion. So I agree that we're very much now into gearing up and to continuing to mobilize, celebrate, but mobilize and organize. And I really do think that, taking snippets of this hearing can be very educational. I think it can really help to galvanize Black people to see a Black man who's sitting there saying all the ridiculous things that he's saying, and others. I think, it's interesting how our people roll and how our people move. And I think we should take advantage of this white supremacist, nationalist obstructionism to educate and further galvanize our people to be prepared to march on battle boxes, to now march in the streets to say, we ain't letting nobody turn us around on this one. We are going to the map on this. So I'm very optimistic. Great night, great celebration, great moment, long time coming, but we're here, but a luta continua tomorrow,
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.
Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Available on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and at hero.co. That's HERO.co. Delicious, ultra-low net carb Hero Bread buns and tortillas. Soft and fluffy. high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories. Order today at hero.co and use the code AH10 to get 10% off your first purchase. That's AH10 at hero.co. HERO.co. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.